Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about why we should learn coding in this generative AI era, right? As we everyone knows, right? LLMs are evolving, which means the LLMs are doing a very decent job on generating the code. And nowadays the code generation became very easy, right? Earlier I used to take like 3 days or 4 days to complete my code and to complete my things based which are related to the coding and all. But now it's not like that. It's like, in a matter of minutes we are able to generate the code and doing the task very easily, right? And also in future it might more evolve and it will be more easy or more worse, which we are not completely sure. But when it comes to the question why we should learn coding, we will try to see based on my experience and based on my idea what happens if we learn the coding in this AI era, right? So let's get started. I'll start with a basic example. The reason why I'm taking this example, so I feel that most of the people can easily relate what I'm trying to say. Okay, so the question, right? If the question is like this, can AI be a generalist? Right? Of course, yes, yes, right. With the current, okay, let me increase. Of course, yes, with the current capability that AI algorithms are having or the models are having, it can easily be a generalist. Generalist is basically who articulate the news or who draft the news or who create the news, who who basically create the news, right? So yeah, nowadays, right, the models, any model, any basic model or any advanced model, right, can create the news, right? The Gemini, Gamma, or the GPT can help us in create the news. But when it comes to, let's say I have a very big news channel where I have a lot of customers, I have very high TRP, etc., everything I have. But for generating the news, what happens if I rely on the AI? So we all know that AI might make the mistakes, right? Might. Not always, but might make the mistakes, blunders, not the common mistakes. Even human do the mistakes, but blunders are more often will not will not be done by the humans when they are in a professional roles, right? But AI might make the mistakes and sometimes hallucinates. So whatever the AI generates, let's assume I have a workflow. I'll quickly cover. I have an AI. I'll ask the AI to create a news, news post, right? News post or news blog or news headline, whatever, right? Headlines. Something I've been doing with AI by giving proper inputs. Okay, this proper inputs again given by the human. Alright. So if this is a news or post, it is very much risky that if I put that into the direct public domain, right? If I directly put that public domain, it is very much risky for my business and for my reputation, my credibility, right? Because my news channel is having very big customer base, right? So rather what I will do, I'll add one more layer in between. Rather than directly pushing into the public, I'll add one more layer in between, which will take human review, right? Human review, and once the human reviews are acknowledged, it will go to the public domain. So before AI, this entire news creation, right, will be taken care by the humans. But now, from the creation, the human role might shift it here to the review. Of course, to review it also, human needs to know how the English works, and I mean, if it's the English news channel, you should be very proficient at English, right? And also, you should know how to articulate the news or how to compose the news. All the domain information or the professionalism that is required for the journalist would be still required in this case, right? So the same thing might happen for the coders as well, but I'll tell you how it happens. But try to understand this basic workflow or the scenario, right? So this is the current situation of the AI, right? And one more example, this is a simple, I mean, normal journalist I'm talking about. What if there are special journalists are called investigative journalist? Okay, I have no space here, let me write it like this: investigative journalist, right? So what they will do, they will work on a specific problem, very specific problem, very specific problem, and what happens while they are working on it, they will collect the enough evidences. Where here? I don't know, some reason it's not writing good. They'll collect the evidences and they will try to investigate and then the evidences or whatnot. They will try to do all the things that are really required for the investigative journalism. And these investigations or the evidence collection or the problem solving or whatever you call it, that the thought process like a Sherlock Holmes, right? That might be very specific to the case or the problem, right? If you ask me, AI can do this job? No, right? The AI cannot do this. Not the current AI, maybe future AI. Let's say AI is evolved enough. And then also, AI, it's very much difficult to do this kind of job what investigative journalists are doing. Why? Because this is very specific and it's not at all unique to all the problems. It is very specific to the problem. The human has to go, he has to take enough decisions and he has to dynamically act, right? The same empathy or the sympathy might not work for all the cases. There are n number of factors will be there where AI cannot handle all those things. So similarly, in the software engineering also, this particular investigative journalism, right? This area I'm talking about, this is like a problem solving, which we can talk about in the next videos if you are interested in it. But for now, let's understand that this is the content generation. What you're talking using the AI can be like a code generation, right? Code generation. Once the code is generated by the AI, there is a very risky, right? If I directly put that into the production is a server where the actual business happen for the clients, right? If there should be a human in loop before moving into the production, the human has to review it, he has to test it, whether the each and every module is working or not, or what are the code is that is generated by the AI, whether it is aligning to the business requirements or not. There are n number of checks might happen or required, mandatory, right? Mandatory to check before moving to the production. And also understand the person who is checking here, he should also know how the coding works and how the backend or how the software engineering works. He should require all the coding. I mean, he should require all the knowledge that is required. Even though the coding is generated by AI, but still human might require to review all these things, right? Maybe what happens in this entire workflow, if we compare the investigative journalism and this particular journalism, maybe the time is reduced in generating the code, but not on the, you know, but not on the actual work or actual requirement of the human. So probably the work or the role might shift from, I mean, if the person is more creative, he will put less time in generating the things using the AI because the AI is really generating the well, right? The AI will generate the things and the time that is remaining or the saved here can be investigated here. I mean, can be invested here, invested in problem solving or doing the evidences, whatever that is required to do that, right? So in this modern AI era, right, Gen AI era, right, people should realize this actually. People definitely realize this. Wherever the AI he can use, right, if he is smart enough to use the AI, he has to use the AI in a smart places and he can put his capacity or ability or whatever, right? His productiveness on other things, something like investigative journalism or the problem solving in our core scenario, right? So yeah, that being said, what we can say that is from the above example or the example that we had discussed earlier, AI can be your assistant or your co-pilot, but not an autopilot. Autopilot in the sense it cannot take the decision autonomously. You have to there to guide the AI. I mean, AI is there to give the content, but you are the ultimate person to judge is where to put this particular content, or is that content is really reliable, really credible enough to put it in our business or your client business, right? So that understanding that is really there. Even though AI evolved to level, still that particular thing is there, right? So that is why the first thing why coding is important, right? Hope you got it. That's the reason why still coding or why in future also next 5 to 10 years also why coding will matters, right? This is the main here. This is the main idea. And we can also understand if you go to more technically, right? AI, whatever the AI model or AI algorithm you consider, that is always probabilistic in nature, right? It's not a deterministic, it's always probabilistic. Probabilistic in the sense, right? Think of it like a random experiment. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say if you have six faces dice, right? It has six faces and it it will have the number range from 1 to 6, right? Assume that you have rolled the dice and it has given a number between the 1 to 6. So first time when you rolled, it has given the number 3. Okay. And the second time also when you rolled, there are chances, right? It might give the 3. And fourth time, 3, 3, and like this, it might give the numbers like this, right? Even if you done this experiment for 10 times, most of the times it is given 3 only, right? And what happens is that with this knowledge, what happens if with this knowledge, right? If you tell this to your friend or to your class or to the larger audience group, saying that my dice always gives the 3, most of the times always gives the 3. How did you say it? Because yesterday you observed it. When you observed it, it has given 8 out of 9, 10 times, it only given the 3. Only two times it has given something else. When you publicly committed this information with your friends or your schoolmates or your college mates, what happens over there? When you try the same experiments, same number of rolls that we have done yesterday, when you repeat the experiment, there are no guarantee that 3 will come. It might come 4, it might come 5, it might come 6, right? Because there is a probability it might come from 1 to 6, any number, which we don't know. What we know is that it will give the number in between 1 to 6, but we don't know which number it will give, right? This is what we call as a probabilistic in nature. What we have yesterday is, it is very hard to reproduce tomorrow. The same thing will happen with AI, not just AI, any probabilistic system. That is the problem, right? So when the situation is like this, it's very much difficult to make the decision making based on the AI, right? So let's talk about the enterprise applications as well. Enterprise applications, yeah, I have seen some of the tools. They are building the application, they are building the websites and all. I'm not talking about the small applications. Think of like a very big enterprise application, something like Amazon or a Flipkart or any booking website, right? So there are a lot of back-end, something like a Netflix or those stuff, right? There are a lot of back-end services are running to support all that much of audience or the viewership, right? So in that particular AI apps, if you are assuming that most of the people are thinking that most all the services are will be taken care by the AI, right? In future, if that is the case, right, even a small mistake might ruin the entire business, right? Let's say if you ordered one iPhone in the Amazon instead of one, because of the small mistake that's been done by the AI, there are chances that instead of one iPhone, you might get 100 iPhones. Who knows? That kind of mistakes are very much likely to happen if you don't loop the human in between, right? That kind of enterprises, right? Enterprise companies, the companies like Amazon or anything, right? Even me, if I'm a owner to some of the banking application, even you, if you're owner to your business, are you interested to put the AI to take, and you will take the business in that risk? No, right? We will not completely depend on the AI. We will use the AI, but it up to some extent. There should be a human in loop is really required, because your business is like very, very big business, enterprise business, right? The small mistake can ruin your job. And also, there is a lot of decision making would also required in these enterprise applications, right? And in future, right, assuming that AI will build the app. Some people also might argue that you are comparing the today's scenario. What might happen in the future, we don't know. If you think in that lines, right, what happens? Okay, let's assume that AI has an infinite context length, right? Assume that infinite context length in the sense it can take all the code base from your enterprise, and it knows what each and every pieces that is there in your enterprise as part of our enterprise application. And then it will be very become easy for the AI to judge or add any feature to your enterprise application and all. And people might argue in that way as well, when assuming that in future LLMs might have infinite context length, right? But assuming that if it has infinite context length, AI can able to generate the feature for the enterprise application. It can evolve at that level, let's assume. And once the development is done, who will take care it further, right? Who will take care it further? Like once the development is done, you have to take care it, right? You have to take care in the development or maintainability and operationalization, right? Even some people say that this operationalization is also can be taken care by the AI. But let's see that if there is no human in between, AI itself detects the mistake and it will try to nullify that particular mistake, right? When it try to nullify that particular mistake, it might result in one more mistake. There are chances, and that mistake can result in one more mistake. I mean, one more existing mistake, and these mistakes can happen nested and nested. And in the production level code, just assume these many code requests and these many code changes might happen in a small time is not a joke, and it's not even good for the enterprise application. That's why even though it evolves at this level, human in loop is very much required. This is my understanding, by the way. And when I talk about the software engineer or the data analyst or data scientist or AI engineer, right? They also moreover coding, right? They also work on the scalability, and these are real world problems, basically real problems, integrations and migrations and pipelines and the software architecture, like how that particular feature can be integrated, and those kind of problem solving is really required in the real time. To understand this all problem solving and the required integrations, whatever, right? You need to understand the existing underlying architecture or existing underlying the feature of the application in your business. To know that, you should really require to know the coding, right? Yeah. And that being said, these are the points, important points everyone should keep a note, right? When you are good at coding, right, you can shape better, you can customize the better what AI generated or what AI builds for you or for your business, right? You can definitely shape it very easily. Let's assume that I'm a Python developer, I am very good at Python, right? Assume that I'm very good at Python. If someone asks or if someone asks me to create a microservice using the Python, right? I can easily do it maybe in minutes using the LLMs or the AI, right? Same question, if the same question asked to me, not using the Python, if they ask me to build the microservice using the Java, since I don't know how Java works or I don't know the Java coding, right? Even though I know how to use the AI, but still for me it will take a lot of time to build the microservices using the Java. But it will be very easy for the person who knows the Java, right? So always understand this difference. So that's why I keep on saying the coding is really important to know. I mean, to know the code, how to code in that language is really important, right? So if you know the coding, you'll be more productive. Like I said, if you know the Python, you can take the Python generated code, you can customize it and you can build it very fast, right? Uh, Let me change the color. And 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 there is a more demand. There is a more demand for the people who code also uses the AI. I mean, the person having these combination of these two particular skills are really increased in demand in future, right? The person should use the AI and also he should know how to write the code and how to debug the code, etc. Right? There is a famous saying, right, by the NVIDIA CEO recently said that the people AI will not take the jobs. The person who is using the AI will take the jobs of the person who is not using the AI, right? That is very much. I mean, we need to read the lines in between, right? Read in between lines, my bad, sorry. So we have to understand those particular aspects from the CEOs like that. And also always understand this job market is not disappearing, right? Let's not confuse or let's not make fall for the hypes that industries or other industries are making. This job market is not disappearing, right? But it is evolving in terms of what? Evolving in terms of using the AI. If you are using the AI, if you know how to build the applications using the AI, right? If you know the coding much, you will be more productive. In shorter time, you can build the bigger products, right? The companies will hire the people like that who can build, who can work on more productively, or who are people who are very good at the foundational knowledge, fundamentals, basically, fundamentals, and the problem solving. The people who are very good at problem solving, right? right? These kind of innovative, because innovation and everything will comes from the fun if you know the fundamentals, if you know the problem solving, right? So yeah, that being said, right, finally, I would just want to end up saying this. So if you know like Marvel Studios, Marvel movies, there is a character called Tony Stark, right? In case if you don't know, just ignore it if you know it, but just read this line clearly. Jenny is like Iron Man's suit, but you still need to be a Tony Stark, right? There are a lot of characters in the MCU, but Iron Man is only a Tony Stark because he knows how to use the AI and he will made himself better. If if he, even though AI works from him, AI is like a co-pilot to him, right? Just try to map the scenario. It's not a autopilot for him. It's a co-pilot to him, right? He knows how to use the AI. He knows how to use those all the tools, and he knows how to make him better using the Gen AI, right? So that's all for this video. So I hope you got a clarity like why we require the coding. In case of you have any questions or any doubts, feel free to use the comment section below. That's all. Happy learning. Bye bye.